Remember that buddy system because you're chilling off at the card pool. I'm your host, Stu.
And I'm Kyle.
And the reason why we're doing a buddy system is because we're looking at a magic moment today of the politics that you can interact with in Commander.
Specifically the cards that encourage this kind of play.
Exactly, and this is the kind of deep shenanigans that can go on a meta level of darkness that you never return from. So we're going to start off this one quick and easy, and we're going to start something that's fun with the voting mechanic. Now, we see this twice happening both in Conspiracy, the old and the new. We have two examples here. The first one being of Council's Dilemma, and the second one being of Will of the Council.
Right.
So pretty much what this does is it makes it so that everyone goes ahead and votes for one or the other in Council's Dilemma. This one, and we'll leave this up for a second. Council's Expropriate's one of the better examples of this because it makes it so you can get so many extra turns.
It's so terrible.
Which you get at least one extra turn if you are ahead. If you are behind, you may get an additional one, but gaining the permanence with it is so powerful.
Yeah, well, and for people who have never seen this card before, maybe you haven't, maybe you're lucky and you've never had this played on you before, but never choose time. Never.
Rule one, you never choose time. It's the reason why all right, 9 mana for 2 turns, I guess that's still too cheap. That's still too cheap. Yeah, you'd almost want to see 15 mana for that cost.
You never want to give somebody more extra turns.
Yeah,
it's just bad.
But also not only that, you give them permanence. So 4 people, if you're getting 3 permanents, which is
not that bad, though.
Oh, it can be because those are lands, and you can take someone's powerhouse land. So they're already having swamps, they have Cabal Coffers out there. It's just something to cripple out any opponent, which in your case would be a teammate if you're not casting this. So you're like, crap, we can't catch up.
I don't know. I don't think it's that bad, really.
Taking a commander, yes.
A lot worse things could happen to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're already losing if this goes off. But anyway, the other one, we'll bring it back up here, is Council's Judgment, which is another fun one. This one, I think, is a little bit more fair for the thing of voting, because what this does is it makes it so that you can get to be the devil's advocate. You get to send mischievous plays here by making it so that your opponents are going to start getting aggression towards each other. In this case, you target a card that you don't control, and everyone does this in turn. And whatever has the most votes or is tied gets destroyed or exiled.
Exiled in this case. Like, more than likely, this is going to exile one card that everybody can agree is a problem.
Not always.
That is usually what happens. However, there is a chance if like 3 players voted for 3 different things, it could exile 3 different things. And the nice thing is it can't be something you control.
Well, so like let's say the turn order goes. Let's say it's me, our buddy Jason over there, you the viewer, and Kyle, right? So I would go first and I would say something. So if I go ahead and I say something that Jason's got, he's not going to want to target something else that he has. He'd be like, all right, if I target something that you have or Kyle have, it would make it so that, all right, those are tied. I'm willing to trade out this and this. Well, then you go ahead and you choose something. It's like, all right, well, this is the problem. If you choose something that Kyle has, Kyle's like, well, I don't want to lose this. I'm taking something down with me. He'll probably target the thing that Jason has. You get 2 for the price of 1, and you also have everyone angry at each other and not you. It's interesting.
But you played the card that made everybody do that, so
I
don't know.
No one remembers that. That's like saying, hey, you're the one that brought the gun to the knife fight, but they're using the gun.
I don't know how true that is, but the Will of the Council ability is kind of more fair. Council's Dilemma was just really, really powerful because something bad happens no matter what you vote for.
Yeah, well, and that was why
I don't know how I feel about that.
But you can see the cost difference here: 3 mana versus 9. So for 9 mana, you should be getting something pretty powerful.
Yeah. Well, and there are other cards that are like, oh, you get an extra vote, or you can.
And they're in other colors, so
yeah.
You can get the advantage. I think it's a little bit more powerful in Oathbreaker for that fact if you're using those cards, because you can use them and make it so that you get the powerhouse. But I'm not a savant on that subject. But we'll move away from the voting mechanic and onto something else. And Kyle, take it.
All right. Well, this one, there's another mechanic called Join Forces. And I forget what Commander set this was from. One of the early ones, though.
There's
one of the very early ones.
Well, there's two Commander sets that came from.
Yeah. Oh, they did 2 of them. Right. So, yeah, with this one, I'm going to sneeze here.
Bless you.
Thank you.
That was a cough.
Well, so for the Join Forces cards, they all have the same ability. Some are creatures, some are other things. But basically, starting with the turn player, each player can pay any amount of mana, and then it adds to the ability of whatever the card is. Like with Collective Voyage, you get as much, every player gets as many basic lands as people paid mana to play the card.
Yeah, this one's interesting because it's trying to instigate something, but if you don't associate with it, you still get the reward.
Right, which is, yeah.
Not what should have happened, actually. It should have been like, if you put mana into it, you also get this.
Yeah, I don't have to tell you how many times somebody's played, like somebody in a 3 or 4 player game has played Collective Voyage, like hoping everyone will play along, and yeah, I'm that guy. I'm that guy who waits until everybody's paid in however much mana they're gonna pay, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna pay anything. I'll just reap the rewards while I did nothing.
Yeah, you're the douche that skips out on the bill at the restaurant, pretty much. And they were so close with this. It didn't make it, I feel, as in the form of what you should be using. If only they had the word on there to be like, if you were part of this, you get something.
Right, you had to have paid something.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
It should have been Join Forces. It should be called Contribute. And if you contribute, you can ride the ride.
Yeah,
and,
I like that idea.
Yeah, maybe Wizards new commander set coming out. Use Contribute. I'll let you use that as a keyword. I don't mind that. But this does also shine in Two-Headed Judgment, Two-Headed Giant, for the fact that you will have a buddy who will sign on for some of this stuff, and you can also make it so that they can catch up with you. And that was the fun part about the politics with this, is if you go ahead and you use this to help another player, you have an ally. I mean, and granted, everyone else is going to get some good out of this, but it's not exactly something that's bad for you. It's you're getting something inherently, even though everyone else will. You can bring a player into the game, and that is enough to make it so that you can now be safe from so much targeting.
It's an all right mechanic, but
for political plays,
yes. It was kind of hit and miss.
Yeah, honestly, this is one of the weaker ones I'd say that we're going to see on this list. But going on to the next one, which I'd say is the superior variant.
Oh, yeah.
It's called...
great.
These are the tempting offer kind of cards that we see here, and that's actually the name of the mechanic. And we look at cards here of Tempt with Reflections and Tempt with Discovery. Tempt with Discovery being the most notorious of this cycle.
It's so good.
And we'll look at Tempt with Discovery for the comparison that we had with the other one. And so this one is you search your library for a land, any land, and you put it onto the battlefield, which is also meaning untapped.
Right.
Each opponent may search his or her library for a land card as well and put it onto the battlefield. For each opponent who does, you get an additional search and put that land into play.
Yeah.
So this is super strong for the fact that you're getting the good stuff, which is what you want, and you're paying your right for it. However, it can scale with how many people go for it.
Yeah, paying 4 mana to just get 1 land, even if it's any land from your deck, is not necessarily great.
It's okay. This is in green. This is a Gaia's Cradle for 4. You'll get that mana back. Or like we see something like a Sylvan Scrying, which is 2 mana for any land. It's to the hands.
Not into play.
So it's into play. So this is fair for face value.
But then if you start getting 2 or 3, it starts getting really silly. And like really, if you see one of these cards played, the smart play is to not take anything and to let them just get one thing. However, there's always going to be that one person who wants in on that, who needs something real bad. And then if one person does it, pretty much everyone else might as well do it too, because you can't get hurt any more.
You still say no. The person who's going to say yes is the person who just is like, I'm going to win next turn because you just gave me the win con, or the person who's really far behind. That's the thing that makes this interesting. It's telegraphed, it's shown, and the person who plays this gets all the reward, which is the awesome part with this. They definitely did this right with this one. They saw the Join Forces was a little shy, and they bumped it up for this one, and I think they nailed it.
Something with Tempt with Reflections is not as good because you're giving everybody potentially a really, really good creature, and it's the same one that everybody is getting, so I don't know. That's a little bit more...
It's more chaos. It's a chaos card in blue, which I can totally get behind in that realm. But honestly, if you're doing that, what you're stealing, like if one person's got a Blight Steal and you now make it so everyone's got a Blight Steal, I mean, that's just terrifying.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So it depends on the target more or less to assess the value of this, because sometimes 4 mana for this is not worth it. Sometimes it is. Like if it's like a Precursor Golem,
God.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that just makes it interesting for everybody at that point. But if it's
Yeah.
something where it's like a biovisionary, no one's going to go ahead and accept that because you're going to flat out win the game.
Right.
But if everyone's getting an Avacyn or
Yeah.
a Platinum Angel, it just makes the game very interesting. And that's what I can totally respect with this card. And again, that's why the politics is the theme with this. It gets very politicky with this because you have now created a monster on the whole field, or
Yeah.
you yourself are a monster, or you create a player to be a monster. And that's the joy of this game. Really is.
Definitely. Well, let's move on and talk about some other things here, though. So what's next on our
So we're
list?
gonna go with on the theme with like the Attempt of Reflections. It's gonna be gifting cards, and there's whole archetype decks that we see here with this one. So let's go ahead and we'll bring up. No, what? Forget the gifting. Let's go ahead for universal boosty cards.
Okay, yeah, looks like we're gonna do that one.
Yeah,
next.
let's do
All right.
universal boosty cards instead. So yeah, I mean that's kind of needless to say.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the universal boosting cards, we got guys here like Zerta, Ancient, and we got Mana Flare. Now these are cards that are pretty much global for all players, but the thing that makes these kind of nuts is that these effects drastically change the game.
They do. Yeah.
And so it's like you'll play something where it's like no one's going to want to hit your Zerta Ancient because, well, they're getting a huge boost from it. But meanwhile, they don't want to get hit in the face with it. So it's one of those cards they kind of tiptoe around because they don't want to necessarily kill it. Because if they go ahead and they remove something that gives all players some power, they're all going to have responses to that instantaneously. So you may play something, but somebody else removing it is going to cause aggro to them.
Yeah, the key to using these kind of cards effectively is that if you put it out there, you better be able to use it to do something really good right away.
Yes.
Because if you just put it out there hoping that everybody's going to be nice to you, no. Everybody's going to use it for whatever it's worth and then kill it before you can do anything with it. That's not going to feel good to you.
And if we pull it up one more time, the other card we have there is Mana Flare. And that one, if you've ever seen it or played with it, it's kind of the same thing. All players get additional mana for the lands. Now, green does this effect where it's like it's one-sided. They go ahead, they play this, they get the reward, and everyone hates them for it because it gives them a huge boost. So the fact that these are low-costed and everyone's getting the effect, again, changes the dynamic, makes the whole game chaotic, so that everyone has to have responses and answers to everything else like that. And you can kind of just sit back and wait, and then when the rubble and dust fall into place, you go in and you make something crazy happen. And that's a different kind of political play that you see in Commander.
Yeah, these are cards that I'm not necessarily that comfortable with. I've
Not
seen
at
other
all.
people playing them, but I don't like giving anyone else any kind of advantage. So that's just not my speed.
Oh, well, that's not true. With this next one, I think you definitely are a fan of that.
All right, well, what's this next one here we got?
We have targeted boosting effects. And Kyle, you see these cards here, and you've definitely seen them in action. Go for a little bit.
Oh, I have. All right, yeah. So the ones we're talking about here, this is just for example. There's several more, but we have Gahiji, Honored One, and we have Edric, Spymaster of Trest. Edric being probably the most well-known of any of these cards. Now, you have to read these cards carefully to figure out what makes them so politicky, because at first glance, it's kind of like, you know, why are we even considering this? It's just a boost. But they do say, whenever somebody attacks an opponent or a planeswalker you don't control, they get a certain boost. With Edric, it's whenever they do combat damage to an opponent, they draw a card. That counts you. And whenever they do, with Gahiji, whenever they attack another player or another player's planeswalker, the creature gets a boost.
Yeah.
So so anybody gets a bonus as long as they are not attacking you.
Yeah.
And that includes you.
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to attack yourself if you think about it, unless you're very self-deprecating. But and that's the great thing about this. It insinuates other plays. Again, they might want to attack you, and you kind of see this with like the dethrone mechanic. This is kind of something out there where it's like you want something to happen. You want to get the bang for your buck. You want the value, but by attacking me, you're not getting it. It's like, fine, I'll go for the coupon. I'll buy this brand I don't care for. I don't always buy this, but why not? I'll save $2 where I normally wouldn't. And that's what you're getting from here. You're kind of pinning their arm back behind them without them screaming for mom.
It's interesting because, like I said, it's good. It's good as long as there are multiple players in the game. But once it just gets down to you, obviously
the value
they're not
goes
gonna
down.
have. Yeah, they're not going to have any choice but to attack you. So I don't know. I mean, these are all right. Like Edric is pretty decent in terms of commander, just in general.
As a commander,
But-
he's semi-viable.
Yeah,
Or
but-
even in 99, he works for just Simic.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think there are better options if you want to play the politics game. Still, these are pretty interesting.
Yeah, but again, as commanders, it's good to know they exist if that's your whole mentality, because you see like group hug decks. These are also kind of like group targeted effects.
Right.
So this is another style that's out there, and it's just stapled on a commander as opposed to some janky one card. So
Yeah.
it's interesting when you see them happen.
Indeed. Well, next we're going to talk about some of the weirdest cards in the game, the ones that gift to other people.
Yeah, you don't normally see that unless it's, well, we'll go into
Yeah.
that. But yeah, our gifting cards. So here we have a couple examples, and you like this. Go
All
into
right,
it,
well, I'll
yeah.
talk about these. So we have, first of all, we have a land, Rainbow Veil here. Well, we have two lands, really. Rainbow Veil and Forbidden Orchard, both of which kind of gift things to other people. We included Zedru the Great-Hearted in here because this is pretty much the poster child of gifting.
Oh, yeah, but-
And it's what makes it so good as a strategy, just because Zedru is, like, kind of ridiculous.
And these are actually some of the lands that you would see in a Zedru deck for the fact
Mm-hmm.
that you can go ahead and make it so you are forcibly giving them something that they typically wouldn't want to have on the field, because now you're
Right.
giving them something they really don't want to have now.
Yeah, so for example, things like Forbidden Orchard, when it taps to give you 1 mana of any color, and it comes into play untapped. That's really, really good.
So of course there's something tacked onto
Yeah,
it.
so the downside is when you tap it for mana, one of your opponents, you get to pick which one, gets a 1/1 colorless spirit token. So it doesn't have flying or anything crazy like that, it's just a 1/1 token. And that's, I don't know, I'm always on the fence about playing that. Forbidden Orchard,
yeah,
I mean.
it's
I
not
don't,
horrible.
It's not horrible, but a lot of decks use creature tokens for things, and you know, it is a creature that can hit you, so
But again,
I don't know.
you can also instant speed give someone a blocker.
That is true, yeah.
And that's the greatest interaction with that, is because it's like, all right, I'm taking lethal, I'd lose. Well, let me
Right.
produce 1 mana, give you a blocker. Guess who's in the game?
Yeah.
And guess who owes somebody a favor all of a
Yeah.
sudden?
Or there's
So-
something like Rainbow Veil, which just taps for 1 mana of any color, also comes into play untapped, but it has a slightly larger downside if you have to pass control of it then to another player.
And it's so much fun seeing that, because once it's tapped, is more or less the fact that at the end step, it will trade hands.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't tap it, you keep it. So you can inherently reserve this effect. But also, if someone hands this to you, you could hold that card as hostage and be like, well, I'm not doing this effect just yet. I'm waiting for that moment where you hold true to your bargain.
Right.
And so you can, again, do some more stuff. You can give someone a boost who needs help to take out the arch enemy or something like that. So handing mana around the table is really fun for the fact that even if it's 1 mana, it can make some play kick
Yeah,
off.
you can make this you can either be nice and like try to help other people out, and that's like kind of the point, or you could be sneaky, especially with things like Zedru, when you can give other people things that are bad for them, like the most notorious one being Illusions of Grandeur,
Ugh.
which when you play it, you gain 20 life, and then when it leaves play, you lose 20 life, so you play it, gain 20 life, and then forcibly switch it with somebody else, so it's kind of, you just handed them like a ticking time bomb, and which is going to kill them eventually.
Or my favorite thing is you hand somebody a Glacial Chasm and they're ready to go to combat. Oops, you can't declare
you can't
attacks
attack.
anymore. So he is a very fun, truly chaos commander, and I'm glad it's not just mono red. Like, this is a mono red chaos commander. Having the white and blue only accelerates this to being
Yeah.
that much scarier.
So so you could be nice, you could be not so nice.
You could
it's
be
totally
mean,
up to you
but
with these kind of cards.
Giving the gift, it's sometimes a pair of socks, sometimes it is that video game you've been craving.
Sometimes.
And lastly, our final effect, we're calling this to adding to text box, adding to the text box kind of politics. It is inherently a gifting scenario, more or less, but felt like it deserved its own little shout out, you know?
Yeah, all right, yeah.
So these, we're going to be looking at examples like Cavern of Souls, Cauldron of
Cauldron of
Souls,
Souls,
my bad,
yeah.
way different card, way different cost, and Thassa, God of the Sea. Now, the reason why these are in here is it goes ahead and it gives a keyword mechanic to a creature that otherwise wouldn't have it, which can make the game crazy. Now, we've already seen cards like Undying with Mikaeus,
Right.
where it's like you go ahead and give it a +1 counter. Well, Cauldron of Souls goes ahead and gives it a -1, so you can inherently propel it coming back again and again. If you take that out of the equation, This is just a good way to save somebody's card because this targets any number of creatures on the field.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be yours.
Yeah, or your opponent's.
Right.
You can save somebody's commander from having to get the tax back out. There's something that's holding someone else back. You can do this and then make it so something else can happen.
Yeah.
Or if you have no creatures on the field, you can be Mr. Nice Guy.
Right. So it makes them weaker, so maybe that's, a big deal, but still, you're saving somebody's creatures from dying, which is better than them dying.
Yeah,
so.
way political right there. Or giving them evasion, like with Thassa, you can go ahead and give any creature for 2 mana unblockable.
Right.
And that's super strong because somebody's been creating this huge army or this weird pillow fort or some sort of huge tax scenario. Well, you can pierce.
Yeah, someone can just sneak that damage through to end the game.
Especially if it's like a Master of Cruelties who now goes ahead and makes it so that they're at 1 life.
Yeah.
Yeah, or if it's a Blightsteel, Infect, bam, wow. Or some sort of Proliferate trigger or anything else. There's so many cards you want them to hit, but just to have it happen is sometimes rough. Gifting it out to not your own creatures, oh man. Yeah, you'll make a friend out of anyone at the table.
Oh, definitely.
And that's probably the most fun thing about this mechanic style is because you can inherently make it so you have an ally. You don't become a threat. You don't become anything. Everyone wants to be your friend. They're not going to attack you. They want your help. And, I mean, it's kind of like real politics for that kind of thing. You have something that the other nations want.
Definitely. Some fun cards here. Lots of fun things to consider.
Yeah. And this is the thing that I love the most about Commander. And there's also so many other different types of politics cards. We definitely missed some. And be sure to let us know what category you would throw some cards into. Be like, oh, this is something that I use in Commander. This is my favorite element of politicking. Let us know in the comments, please.
Definitely.
Or you can reach out to us at anywhere else, actually.
Yeah, we're all over social media, as you all know. But you can check us out on Reddit, on Twitter, on our Facebook page. We've got pages on all of them. We have a tapped out page where we have all of our deck lists, so you can check that out too. Or if you just want to email us the old-fashioned way, you can hit us up at mtgthecardpool@gmail.com.
And until then, I'm Stu.
And I'm Kyle.
And we'll see you next time at the Card Pool.